All right, let's go to, this is Atlanta, right? South Carolina, Virginia Tech. Listen, Flursy's been part of these. I hate neutral site games to open things up, but we've got one here. ACC, SEC, South Carolina, Virginia Tech. Let's start with Cole since it's SEC on this one. Does Lenore Sellers just need to not do too much in this game and South Carolina will be just fine?
Well, it's going to be really interesting to see how Virginia Tech kind of combats whatever we see from this offensive personnel, because remember, this was one of the most hyped up teams last year going into 2024, 97% returning production. They had a veteran quarterback in Kyron Drones. They felt really confident in the offensive line. They felt really confident in the defensive front, and they proceed to lose to Vanderbilt in the house that Diego Pavio was quite literally building during the middle of the game. They had to stop construction because there was a football game going on, and they underachieved. They made entire differences the entire offseason. They went out into the portal. I feel like they upgraded at wide receiver a little bit. They brought in Cam Selden from Tennessee. They also changed their coordinators, which is going to be a night and day difference from the offensive and defensive personnel from a season ago that hindered their success. My question is it going to all gel together enough to go up against this front that is South Carolina's rushing attack? South Carolina did make an offensive coordinator switch. Dow Logans gets hired away to Appalachian State, and they internally promote Mike Shula. The thing that I've constantly heard around South Carolina this offseason from people that are around the program and are in the program is last year, Dow Logans brought out the best version of Lenore Sellers as a runner. This offseason, we've seen Mike Shula bring out the best version of Lenore Sellers as a passer. So what are we going to get in that passing game? We had an offseason for the first time where Nick Harbor wasn't running track. He was actually at the football facility working in spring drills. So he is going to have to step up as a wide receiver one against this front seven headlined by Brent Pry and on the outside in the coverage. But who is going to be that number two weapon? Are we going to see the likes of potentially a breakout player like Michael Smith, the tight end that was a four-star talent that committed 2 years ago? Are we going to see Jordan Dingle, the transfer that came on in from Kentucky? What about Mazeo Bennett? What about one of the freshmen, Malik Clark being a potential name that we could talk about? Lex Cyrus, we could talk about several others that I know are on this roster, and I know I'm blanking on them. Jared Brown's one that came back for another year. So can you get the ball in the receiver's hands at the right times? And then when the opportunity brings itself, can you tuck and run and not be afraid to pick up an extra 6 or 7 yards on the ground? The big storyline here in this game is Rasul Faison. So remember, going into practice this past week, we did not know the status of Faison. He didn't get the eligibility waiver up until Monday night. Monday afternoon rolls around, number one is going to be in the backfield. The thing that really is enticing about him is he is a do-it-all playmaker. He has every skill that you want in a three-down back. He is good between the trenches. He's got that home run speed, and an underselling part of his game, he is phenomenal as a back-catching receiver and in pass protection. So it's like adding in another element to keep Lenore Sellers upright en route to what is supposed to be a very successful year. Now, on the flip side, what are we going to see from Kyron Drones? Is he going to have similar elements to a guy in Lenore Sellers with the mobility, with the uncanny cannon of an arm, and the ability to make plays behind the line of scrimmage that will keep second chances alive? This is a new defense. It's not a new defensive coordinator, and there are a lot of pieces back from that 9-3 team a season ago that finished top 20 in almost every single metric, but you are breaking in a lot of new players. You are breaking in a slew of new transfers, whether it be in the secondary or at linebacker or on the defensive line, and all of them are going to have to coexist early on in this game to where we don't know what to expect from the rushing attack in a brand new system for Virginia Tech. We don't know what to expect in the wide receiver room for Virginia Tech because of all of these pieces are so new. However, I do think that if you can get pressure and force Virginia Tech to win through the year, that is an area where potentially it could be a strength. I like Brandon Cisse now playing on the outside. I really am high on Jalen Kilgore having an all-SEC season. I think that you are still going to be fine at the safety spot. You don't have Nicky Manwari anymore, but you have some guys that you trust that can make plays like it's no one else's business. If they can control the line of scrimmage and force Kyron Drones to throw through the air, I think this is where you go into the fourth quarter. Maybe this is still a close game, but that's where you say, Rasul Faison, Lenore Sellers, do your job. Let's go ahead and walk away out of Atlanta with a dub. Saturday evening, we're heading back to Columbia. We're getting prepared for week 2.
I don't love this matchup for Virginia Tech, and I do worry for the Hokies just this entire season. I wonder if this is Brent Pry's last year at the helm for Virginia Tech. It does kind of feel like Kyron Drones against the world offensively, and I am curious to see what they're able to do in the running game. They lost a lot this past season when it came to graduation in the draft. I like what they can bring to the table on defense, potentially slowing down Sellers to a degree. Faison coming back for South Carolina, I think, is fascinating. I just don't have a ton of faith in Virginia Tech, and I think this game might inflate what people think of South Carolina. So I'm going to go ahead and already make my pick. The line, I think I've seen according to some books, is 7.5. I like South Carolina 38-20 in this game. It's virtually home field advantage in Atlanta. It's a little bit of a drive, but you're going to have a lot more South Carolina fans. I might actually be in attendance at that game. I'm looking forward to it.
Get it,
But
Tom.
seriously, I think Lenore Sellers takes that step. Is he all of a sudden the greatest passer that ever lived? Remains to be seen, but I think he takes a step.
It's hard for me to imagine too many routes that don't involve South Carolina shooting themselves in the foot that keep Virginia Tech in this game long term, right? Like I'm not trying to be so down on them, but yeah, Brent Pry's on the hot seat. Weird things happen in week one, but you're kind of like fishing for, man, how can this become a game? How can this be a game, right? Like, how can you stay around? And outside of South Carolina just continuously shooting themselves in the foot, or Kyron Drones just completely going off, right? Like with a mobile quarterback, a guy that's pretty dynamic, yeah, that possibility always exists. It's tough for me to see many paths for Virginia Tech in this one. So I'll predict it too. Yeah, give me South Carolina by, I don't know, I'll go 10. I'll say there's some weird week one flukiness. It is kind of a Beamer Bowl, quasi Beamer Bowl because of Shane's dad and then Shane being there some too. So I don't know, 38-28. Maybe Virginia Tech has a late touchdown to keep it somewhat respectable. But I don't, it's tough for me to even really think that they have what it takes in the trenches, that they have an answer for Stewart, that they have an answer for Sellers, that they have an answer for Faison coming in. I like South Carolina to cruise pretty easily here in Atlanta.
So I'm really intrigued to see what Philip Montgomery, who's the new offensive coordinator for Virginia Tech's offense, is going to look like. Remember, he had a lot of success when he was at Baylor for a while. He had a lot of success around the ACC. So what is he going to provide with this vertical passing approach, especially against a defense that is, again, breaking in a slew of new players on the back end of the secondary? However, I think that the big storyline for me in this game is going to have to be the intermediate throwing of Lenore Sellers. Sellers has got a can of an arm. I cannot stomach the people who say that Sellers can't throw the football. Like, turn on the freaking tape and you can see it clear as day that all the things are there. But he was, at times, very underwhelming in the intermediate part of the field. I do think that the wide receiver room is going to be a big question mark going into this season because of one thing that I really was interested in is watching them go out and bring in that veteran, that X-factor presence, the way that Penn State did, the way that we saw Auburn do it. And I think there was wide receivers out there that were talented enough to fit in the system without overshadowing what you had with Mazeo Bennett and what you had with Nick Harbor and what you had especially in the tight end game. But something about the way that I've heard the positivity coming out of Columbia, that this offense is going to look even better than what it did last year. Like last season was stage one. Now we're entering, let's go ahead and tighten up the bolts and make sure that everything is squeaky clean. And then we're off to the races and we're flying down the field. I think that we're going to get more of that. I think that we're going to get that in the intermediate part of the field. This is going to be a close first half. I just trust what I get in Lenore Sellers and Rasul Faison in the second half. A couple big time throws downfield to Nick Harbor, Mazeo Bennett. I think that one of the freshman wide receivers is going to break on out. Tom and I have the exact same score, 38-20 final. I think that you will watch as Virginia Tech doesn't find a way to get anything moving in the second half. South Carolina does. They win.